important lesson you would give them is my first question, and then the second is similarities between teaching and directing. So first, okay, the lesson.
The lesson. You got to deal with it like a business. You can't. It's art, but it's still business. It's still show business. So make sure you save money. It's a long time between gigs, and it's all about tenacity and continuing to get better while you're waiting for your moment to come. And when your moment comes, you got to grab it and ride it, because the moment may only come once. There's a lot of luck involved in this job. Oh, yeah. So, but you got to be ready when the luck comes.
Similarity to directing and teaching.
Both have to do with guiding an actor through a creative process. So finding a character. When I'm teaching them how to find the character and the various techniques that you use to get the character out. When I'm dealing with an actor, they already know that stuff. I'm dealing with the actual character, the emotional moment, and those beats. So it's just it's the same thing, but just coming from a slightly different place.
I was just saying, in either one, there's just a little ball tickling. Anyway.
Wait, Neil, why don't you tell us some stuff? What about you?
Yeah, what are you hiding,
Well,
Neil?
I got one question that somebody was supposed to ask me about a quote. It was in the scene as Obito with the mask, when he said, "Am I perspiring? No, it's just the rain. These fools could never make me sweat." And somebody asked me a few months ago about something that we may have changed in a script, if we remembered anything. And that line I distinctly remember, because in the manga it says, "Am I sweating? No, these fools could never make me, it's just the rain, these fools could never make me sweat." And I hated the idea of saying sweat twice so close together. So I am the one who changed the line, because face mask means no lip flaps to match. So the best thing about doing anime when you got a character like Optimus Prime or like Toby with the mask is that you can act. You don't have to worry about matching the flaps and acting. So that was also a fortuitous choice, I think, because it really helped to get across the point of the scene. Because using perspiring over sweating is being a bit more erudite, is being a little bit above the crowd. And of course, when he's talking about these fools, he's elevating himself anyway. So I think it played well into the scene.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, it's an important thing to remember. When you do key into the character, when you do feel, you start feeling it, you feel grounded. I had the same kind of experience in a show called Battle Beat 'em On. I had a character named Armada, and he was a very sophisticated, really haughty sort of guy. Now, one of the lines they wanted me to say was, "Booyah." No, you don't. When you speak that way and you have that background, you don't say "booyah." And
say booyah.
No, just kidding. It's quite different, booyah. But luckily, and I think we're all this way, we have the reputation with our fellow actors and directors that we're respected, allowed to do that sort of thing. So when the time came to say the line, I didn't even ask. I just said, "Splendid," instead of "booyah." And the director simply said, "Thank you," and we moved on.
And didn't you once, you went, "Urgh," instead of "roar" for this guy? That was...
It's quite possible, yeah.
It's a good creative choice, that's all it was.
You know, and sometimes you just feel the and you feel the another day, you know?
That's right.
All right, well, a buddy of ours, Salvador, has a question. So what's your question, sir? The most intense scene you've ever worked on. Tony, could you
as an actor, I was in Gungrave. I play Harry, young Harry, and he's a gangster who kills his own brother. And when he realizes that, he has a complete personality breakdown in the middle of an elevator. And it was a really difficult scene to do. And in acting, difficult means really fun. And so, yeah, that was the most intense. I actually hurt my voice. I had to go see a doctor. I broke something. I had, all of that would happen then. And then about 2 years later, somebody asked me in a panel, "Can you do that thing?" And I did the scream, and I did it again. So, yeah. So.
And that was the second and last
That's the last time I ever did that, yeah.
That's right. So, difficult scene?
For me, I was dubbing a Turkish series about two angels, and they go around to troubled families and work them through their difficulties. In this case, I was playing a brother who hadn't spoken to his other brother in almost 30 years. and we had a reunion, and I spent the entire scene just crying my eyes out, and I'm in the booth by myself, as we all work alone. I'm in the booth, and I've got tears running down my face, just weeping. And it was a terribly affecting series, and a very good series, very good actors in this one. So I'm following the guy on the screen, and he's just absolutely in it. And I finished up. They said, okay, you know, that's a wrap. And I just, okay, do I sign the paperwork now? You know, but it's kind of like that. You know, you absolutely let go, and you have to. You just have to let go. And that was the most involving scene I've ever been in.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, one for
Good
Tony,
up.
too, for the broken voice.
Yeah, broken voice, you got tears, you got it all. I'll take it light. I did a couple movies called The Christmas Chronicles and The Christmas Chronicles 2, and I played a little elf, and for the elves, they brought in a linguist, the same guy that made the languages for Game of Thrones.
You worked with David?
Dothraki, yeah, exactly.
I love David.
Right, so he created this elvish language, complete with like a full lexicon and program where he was with us in the booth, and he would, when the director improvised or wanted a line that was different than what was there, he would create it. And so we were sort of learning as we went this totally new language. And it was super fun, and there were some friends of ours there. We were actually, in that case, we were all in the booth together, and it was a hoot, but it felt like playing at your A game, and I just remember feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm the luckiest guy in the world right now. It was on the Disney lot, and that was super exciting just to be there in this sort of this old school place where so much else has happened, and so that was a really great one. Yeah.
I got to do a Lord of the Rings game years ago.
Yeah.
Where they brought a Tolkien expert in, and I had to speak. I was an elfin general.
I was like your assistant.
Were you the Hobbit I was arguing with?
I was an elvish something.
Yeah. Well, we argued. Yeah. So, well, that's interesting. Small world.
Two things come to mind. Probably the most emotionally difficult was I did an audiobook called I Am Number 4, which they made a movie out of. I did the whole series, but in that book there was a character who died, and his death scene, those paragraphs were some of the more affecting things that I've ever actually read. Physically, I did a video game called Heroes of the Storm, where I played a character by the name of Tychus J. Finley. And they wanted to do a Zergified version of that. And so the director's talking to me, and there's this thing called the talkback button. And when they're in the control room, they are pressing it so you can hear them while you're in the booth. And we were discussing the character, and he didn't take his finger off the talkback button, and the engineer said, "We're gonna do an effect on this in post, right?" And I heard that, and I said, "Whoa, wait a second. Why don't you hear what I do first before you start deciding?" Because a long time ago, I did a show called Power Rangers Time Force, and thank you, and I was the voice of Gluto, and I hated the fact that they pitched my voice down, so I don't talk about it a lot, because I feel like, well, that's half me, half the computer. So if I can do the effect myself, I prefer to do it. So I did this thing with the Zergified Tychus that made me lose my voice, and they loved it, and they didn't put any effect on it, they used it in the game, and that was great. But I lost my voice, and that's when I realized that if you ever lose your vocal cords,
you can just try to talk. And it doesn't use the vocal cords at all. So, let me just say this. By the end of the day, my wife hated a goddamn dog.
You know,
so there you go.
You said it's half computer and half you. I direct a lot, and I direct a lot of stuff that ends up getting affected. If the acting's not there, there's no amount of affectation you can do that's going to make the thing work.
Sure.
So the fact that they're pitching your voice down does not take away from your acting skills at all.
It's just one of those things. It's like I thought growing up that I was supposed to be one of those guys that could I try to do as many dialects as possible. I was the guy in jazz choir that sang tenor, bass, and baritone. It was just like, I thought, aside from dancing, which I can't do, I was supposed to do as much as possible. So I felt like I was letting the production down. Or plus, it was like, you know, Scott, I could have pitched my voice down.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to Scott Page Pagater, one of our original inspirations and directors, and a man who is constantly missed at every Morphicon down the line.
Yeah, we lost him a couple years ago.
He's a damn good man. Anyway, any other questions? Oh, yes, sir, with the blue hat. Hello. The gentleman is asking, for the benefit of his own YouTube channel, what were some of your favorite lines that you said in Naruto? And I will give the addendum, or favorite lines that fans come up and remind you that you said at conventions, because a lot of times we read this stuff off a sheet of paper and we don't remember it later. So either something you actually remember delivering or that the fans reminded you of. Let's start with Michael.
Someone just reminded me of a favorite earlier today, which was, what can I say? I'm just really flexible. Hidden jutsu, frill neck lizard! Which I thought was funny. And then because Obito was a surprise for me, I was hired to do the silly voice, which is kind of my wheelhouse, and I've done a lot of stuff like that. You've already heard me mention 2 elves here today. I play an elf. I'm part elf, but I got to do a little bit of a badass as Obito, and so I love all of that stuff too. And I guess one of my very favorites is, "Look at me. There's nothing in my heart. I don't feel pain." Which I also like. If you know your stuff. He doesn't even know what settings he has on there.
My favorite line in the whole series, all the way through to Boruto, there was a scene, I cannot remember what it was about, but Naruto would not shut up. We were arguing and arguing, and he would not shut up. And so I finally just turned to him and I said, "Knock it off, you little bastard." And that is still, to this day, my favorite line I've ever done on the entire show.
Did that make it in the series?
It did. It made
yes.
It made it to Adult Swim. I don't know if it made it to the afternoon, because we have that situation.
It'll be on the DVDs.
Okay, yeah, and the DVDs, yeah. We do have that situation sometimes where we have to change things. I was doing an episode that was going to play in the afternoon for the kids, and I said, "Do not kill Naruto." And normally I would have caught that, but I didn't. They had to have me come in later and say, "Do not destroy," because for the afternoon when the kids are coming home from school, we're not going to talk about killing anybody.
Yeah, annihilation, sure, but not death. I think one of the ones that really stands out to me is, you know, in anime we have this thing where we have reactions, and all of that. And the one time that I did it, that it really felt genuine, was, "It's about damn time, Hashirama." And Hashirama turns and goes, "I'll deal with you later." And Madara goes, And it was the only time I've ever done it that it was genuine, and I got it right, and I got it on the first take, and it wasn't one of these, "Just do it again," you know. So yeah, believe it or not, my one line that stands out was,
I teach that. I call it the secret anime sound. It's this. You've heard it in every anime. Every anime has it, and it's tofu. Happy, sad, doesn't matter. It takes my favorite line, and it was brought to me by somebody, is a quote from when he's teaching Naruto, and he says, "Don't be afraid of death. Be afraid of the unlived life." And I just love that. That's my favorite quote, and I use it everywhere.
Yeah, like, I don't remember saying this, but my favorite, because Madara says so many dark things, my favorite line of his is probably, "You have the best gift one could have. life. And I think that that's just like the best thing that I can put out there from Madara Uchiha, a guy who a lot of times talks about nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world. So.
Yeah, you put that on stuff for little kids.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, just so you know, you're 3 years old, but learn this.
The one that I do for that is, it's a nasty one in disguise. He says, anything is possible in this genjutsu world, which I think sounds very hopeful, but it's actually like, you know, if you allow me to put you into this infinite Tsukiyami and suspend your life for the rest of eternity. You know, that's essentially what it is. But the little kids don't know that, and so they think that it's a nice little thing, and their parents are happy, and that's how we do it.
I had somebody come up for an autograph for Ulquiorra, and it was for their kid, and what they wanted was, they're all trash, kill them all. That was the quote. Like, wow.
Yep, that happens a lot. Was there another question up here? Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. That's lovely. You're one of the 6 people that saw it. So. Well, thank you very much. I was. Okay.
Last question.
What did yeah, I was in Digimon. I don't know what I played, though. I played a couple of little characters.
I was the voice of Hawkman and everything that he changed into. And then, of course, in season 3, I was the voice of Babel, one of the guys who created the Digimon. And, of course, I don't do this voice anymore for obvious reasons.
I actually did 23 different voices on the series, and don't ask me to remember them because somebody else did the homework. I didn't do that. But I did the voice of Wormmon to Stingmon to Imperial Dramon and Okay.
If you heard him, you go for it.
Okay. Okay. Stingmon. DNA digivolve to Dramon.
Yeah, of course, he would have been a good father, but he would have been a very absent father who was off constantly kind of protecting the Hidden Leaf Village. So Kushina would have really spent most of their time with him. Oh, then yeah. Then things would have turned out roughly the same, I think.
I think, yeah, exactly. Alrighty, so we're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes, so I'm going to ask these guys one last question. Is there any one character that you think people don't know that you did that you want to remind them of?
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that I am the voice of Master Fu in Miraculous Ladybug.
Ooh, Can you give us a brief example?
Oh, you must be careful. Do not tell the Hawkmoth that I am here. We must keep secret, for he cannot know that I am the Guardian.
Tony? You got something you'd like to remind people?
Yeah, most people don't know that because I'm as a producer and a producer and writer on Power Rangers. Most people don't know that I played the voice of Saba, Tommy's talking sword. And I had to do because Ted Lehman. You guys remember Ted Lehman? Do you remember Ted Lehman? Ted was who I wanted to originally play it, but he retired. So I was in the meeting and I said, well, what does he sound like? I said, well, he sounds a little bit like this old man. They said, well, you're an actor, you do it. And that's how I ended up with the part. So, and I want to promote something. I actually, last year, I was the voice director on Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. So,
which is an excellent, excellent series if you haven't seen it.
And if you listen, there's 2 episodes where they're doing a documentary. I'm the assistant director. You can hear me in the background.
Nice. And just so you know, it is pretty much completely different from the film and well worth
Except
your
the cast.
time.
It's the entire original cast from the movie.
Yep, yep, and you do an excellent job because I'm sure 1 or 2 of them weren't all that easy to direct.
The couple of people that had the least amount of experience were probably the most eager.
Right on,
they were really eager. It's really a cast, an amazing cast. I expected, for instance, Chris Evans to walk in and be a superstar. I'm a empty shirt actor. Absolutely, he's so prepared. He was probably maybe one of the best actors I've ever gotten to work with, just because he just was right there in the moment all the time. And we're doing a cartoon, you know. It was really something.
But he still felt like that same character.
Yeah. In fact, about half of his dialogue is ad-libbed because it was better than it was written.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, he ad-libbed a lot of it. And it was a funny script to begin with, and he made it funnier, yeah.
But he knew the character.
We've covered a couple things already, but I guess the one that I loved doing so much that I don't get an awful lot of love for over at the table is in Ultraman. I played this funny character called Igaru, who was this tortured young man creature, and was just 8 episodes of angst until he was blown up and killed in a gruesome way. But it was a super fun guy to do, and his voice was kind of always like this, and just always just big angst and big action until the grisly end. So come on over and check him out.
Well, I love the fact that you were also Count Chocula.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, personally.
Short but sweet.
I'm a fan now.
There we go. I said the same thing. I saw the picture. Wait, you did that? Right.
Listen to the latest version of the Monster Mash, and it's I was working in the lab late one night, and that's all me.
And the thing I like to remind people about is I worked on the first season of Star Wars Visions. I got to actually have a lightsaber battle in the episode TOB1 because I was a Sith Inquisitor. No, I didn't get to do the sound effects. But for the 9th Jedi, I was the opening narrator. So for me, when they told me I was doing that, I went, really? And it was, they were phone patched in from, it's like, yeah, sure. What's the big deal? I said, you don't get it. I'm the crawl. I'm the yellow words at the beginning. This is so cool. So that's how I did it. And that is our time, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Everybody.
Thank you so much, guys.
Please come and see us at our table, say hello, and have a wonderful weekend here at the very first Nostalgia Con.